What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today I've got another really good Keyforge deck to show you. You see, over in Eindhoven there was only one deck that went 6-0 on the first day. I've shown you that one, I'll pop a link in the description. But there were some other decks that went 6-0 on day 1B to qualify for Top Cut, and I thought, well, if a deck's good enough to go 6-0 at a big tournament with well over 100 people, I think it's about 150 in the end, we should have a little bit of a look at it and what makes it tick. So might I please introduce you to Guildkeeper Cut Juice Bruno. Yeah, pretty good. It's a 5-power deck now, 14 wins out of 15 games. The one loss, of course, being in Top Cut at the Vault Tour, the thing that knocked it out of contention. Now, it is a deck with Dis, Mars, and Shadows. And oh my goodness, it's got board wiping for days. I did show you Rachel Trimble's deck with which she won the Vault Tour. I'll pop a link to that one in the description. And one of the very few criticisms I had of that deck is that it didn't really have any board wipes. Ladies and gentlemen, not a problem with this particular deck. It's got an almost ludicrous amount of board wiping options, starting off with Gateway to Dis. Gateway to Dis allows you to destroy each creature on the board, yours and your opponent's, and gain free chains. Now you've got to take the chains, but that's a lot of creatures gone. But it doesn't stop there. We've also got a copy of Hysteria, which returns each creature to its owner's hand. Okay, it doesn't destroy them, but it gets them all off the field. So you've literally got two different options within the Dis house that will actually get rid of every creature on the board. One destroys, one lets you pick them up. Do remember that when you're picking up, you are potentially giving people coming into play abilities. So if you're playing against a Brobnar deck that's got a couple of Bumpsy down, you're giving a Bumpsy back to then drop and make you lose Ember. So something to bear in mind with that. And there is actually a third option here as well, because there is a copy of Key to Dis. Sacrifice Key to Dis, destroy each creature. Now, this is an artifact, so you've got to leave it down for a turn because it goes into play exhausted. But it's got an Omni ability. It sits there on the field, and at any point you like, you sacrifice it and destroy each creature. That's pretty ridiculous. But it's not just that you've got free board wipes in your one house here, although you do. To be fair, Key to Dis, it is a Dis card, and you do have to play it on a Dis turn, but you can use it to wipe the board no matter who your active house is. But there's an awful lot of what I like to term cheeky damage here. Damage that you do without attacking. So there are 3 copies of Gongoozle. You get an Ember bonus when you play it. You deal 3 damage to a creature, and if it's not destroyed, your opponent discards a random card from their hand. So yeah, you get to do cheeky damage and potentially get them to lose cards from their hand. It's really quite good. Guardian Demon, when you play or fight or reap, you heal up to 2 damage from a creature, and then you deal that amount of damage to one of your opponent's creatures. Flame Reaved actually gains Hazardous 2 to one of your creatures while giving an Ember bonus. Before it's attacked, you deal 2 damage to the attacking enemy. Not the cheekiest of damage, but still pretty good. Then we move over into Mars. We've got Mothership Support, gives you an Ember bonus. For each friendly ready Mars creature, deal 2 damage to a creature. And incidentally, this is a fairly creature-heavy Mars list here. We've actually got 8 creatures, so that makes this better. We've got Orbital Bombardment, gives you an Ember bonus, and you reveal any number of Mars cards from your hand. For each card revealed, deal 2 damage to a creature. That's pretty gosh darn good. And then we've got Mother Gun, which is an artifact, and as your action, you can reveal any number of Mars cards from your hand and deal damage to a creature equal to the number of Mars cards revealed in this way. So you've actually got 3 ways to do cheeky damage just using this. But then we move into Shadows. We've got Nerve Blast. When you play it, you steal an Ember, and if you do, you deal 2 damage to a creature. And then we've got 2 copies of Poison Wave, gives you an Ember bonus, you deal 2 damage to each creature. Special Delivery is an artifact with an Ember bonus, and it's got an Omni ability where you sacrifice it, deal 3 damage to a flank creature, but if it destroys them, you actually get to purge them. And we're left here with a ridiculous amount of ways to take out creatures. We've got 3 full-on board wipes, and then a whole bunch of cards in each house to deal cheeky damage. That's a little bit ridiculous. But there are a couple of other cards that stand out here. There is a copy of Key Abduction. Gives you an Ember bonus, and you return each Mars creature to its owner's hand, and then you may forge a key at +9 current cost, reduced by 1 for each card in your hand. This is actually quite good, because as I've mentioned, this deck plays 8 Mars creatures, so if you can get a bunch of Mars creatures down, and then go ahead and drop a Key Abduction, this could really help. This could do an awful lot of good. Key Abduction isn't one of these that works every game, but when it works, ladies and gentlemen, oh my goodness, it works. And then, of course, we need to mention that Mars steals. You've got bait and switch. Of course you've got bait and switch. Pretty much all of the best decks this weekend played bait and switch. You basically even up the Ember. You keep stealing your opponent's Ember until either you've got the same amount or you've got one more than them. And then, of course, it keeps going. We've mentioned that Nerve Blast can steal Ember. We've got a copy of Fagin here. When you reap, you return an Urchin from your discard pile or play to your hand. And then there are 2 copies of Urchin. When you play them, they steal an Ember. Plus, they've got Elusive, so you've got to attack them twice to get rid of them. Noddy the Thief also has Elusive and has an action that steals an Ember. And Umbra, when you fight, you steal an Ember. Now, Old Bruno doesn't steal, but it captures 3 Ember, so your opponent has got to actually take down Old Bruno to get it back. So on the face of it, like all of these decks that turn out to be good, this looks like a good deck. So let's have a quick flick through the rest of the cards that don't stand out quite so good but are still important. Looking at this, we don't have some of the more, I suppose, classic, if you're allowed to use that this early, cards in here. There's no Ember Imp to stop your opponent playing cards. There's no Tentacus, which means that they have to pay you to use Artifact. There's no Lash of Broken Dreams to increase the cost of them forging a key. And there's no Succubus, so they draw fewer cards. But that doesn't mean it's bad. We got a copy of Charette. When you play it, you capture 3 Ember. Yes, it's the same as Old Bruno, +1 power, but it doesn't have Elusive. Dust Imp, when it's destroyed, you gain 2 Ember. Shaffles, at the end of your turn, your opponent loses an Ember. That one's pretty gosh darn good. And Shula, if your opponent has 4 Ember or more, you steal one, which, when you play it, which of course really works nicely with your Shadows list here. In terms of Mars, we've mentioned all of the non-creatures, but we've got Grabber Jammer. When you fight or reap, you capture an Ember, and while it's out, your opponent's keys cost 1 more Ember to forge. And of course, this goes with all the stealing and capturing that we're seeing already from the other houses, and you've got a list which is going to stop your opponent forging. We've got Tunk, 6 power, 1 armor, and when you play another Mars creature, you fully heal. Bearing in mind, you've got a lot of Mars creatures here. 2, Ulig Megamouth. When you fight or reap, you use a friendly non-Mars creature. It's house cheating, and there's 2 of them. That's a good thing. And 2, Vezima Think Drone. When you reap, you may archive a friendly creature or artifact from play, so that you can essentially guarantee that you can have it on the next turn you need it. And we've got stuff like Shula that's got a really nice coming into play ability, and Guardian Demon that's got a really nice coming into play ability, and Charette that's got a really nice coming into play ability. So you can use Vezima Think Drone here to just go ahead and archive all of those disc creatures so you can play them when you pick up your archive. At the beginning of the turn, you get the choice to either grab your entire archive or none of it. This could work quite nicely. I mean, look, you can use Shadows here and go for Urchin and Old Bruno, but I think this is probably slightly better here. We've got 1 copy of Wyexili Marauder, +1 power for each Ember on it, and when you play, you capture 1 Ember for each friendly ready Mars creature. But you should be noticing a pattern here. that there are a bunch of cards that are better if you've got lots of Mars creatures, and there's also a bunch of Mars creatures. And then Y-Auxiliary Dominator. It enters play stunned, which sucks, but it's got 9 power, 1 armor, and taunt, meaning your opponent can't take out its neighbors, they've got to take out Y-Auxiliary Dominator. And actually, yeah, that's a powerful creature. Might never get to use it because it enters play stunned, but when you do get to use it, yay! And then looking at shadows, we've looked at most of these cards, but there is a copy of Subtle Maul here, which once per turn, when you use its action, your opponent discards a random card from their hand, which incidentally works very, very nicely with your free copies of Gongoozle, which can, well, deal damage and then make your opponent discard a random card from their hand. This is a deck which has got pretty much better board wiping options than any deck I've seen. In terms of the amount, I mean, you got 3 full-on board wipes, and then a whole bunch of cheeky damage. But you've also got a bit of hand disruption, you've got lots of options for stealing, capturing, stopping your opponent forging, and some decent creatures as well, and it's probably not a huge surprise that this deck also went 6-0. And I know it didn't win the Vault Tour, but when you're sitting here with a 5-power deck that's got a total lifetime number of wins of 14 out of 15, combined with the fact that it went 6-0 in a field of about 150 people, yeah, this is a pretty good deck, and I think we can learn a lot from this. So I think this is a very good deck, but I would like to know what you think about it. How good do you think it looks? How fun do you think it looks? Which of these cards do you have? And tell me some stories about them. Go nuts, ladies and gentlemen, but please do remember the rule. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, and follow me on Twitter at the Wossy, where we talk about other games. But don't worry, we also talk Keyforge. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.